Out for summer. That phrase should trigger excitement for families, but not for parents with kids struggling in school, still reeling from pandemic-related shutdowns. I've shared with many of you my own kids' struggles with falling behind academically. This week I sat down with 3 school counselors to cover a variety of topics, from learning loss to mental health concerns and what parents can do this summer to help. We've invited 3 Poway Unified school counselors to sit down with us to talk about mental health issues. So we really appreciate Hillary, Nicole, and Vanessa being with us here. Hillary, you're an elementary school guidance counselor. Tell us a little bit about mental health and some of the issues you've been seeing with our younger kids in schools.
Yeah, I would just say all of our kids, as well as the adults that serve our students, are coming back from a huge pandemic and COVID, where our social skills looked different, and how we communicated and how we showed our emotions through all the things that were happening around us. So I would say the biggest thing is kind of reacclimating to what that looks like on campus.
Nicole, as a middle school counselor, you're dealing with a tough age group. There's a lot of changes happening in our middle school age kids. What have you noticed as far as any mental health concerns, post-pandemic here, and potentially some learning loss and the impact on our kids' mental health in the middle school years?
Well, Eric, I think you nailed it. I was going to start with middle school is just kind of a wild time to begin with all the hormones and trying to figure out where they fit socially. And I think before the pandemic, and even more so after the pandemic, we're seeing more of those behaviors and students trying to connect and trying to find who they are and which group of students that they want to be a part of, I think was huge.
And Vanessa, at the high school level, these are kids that are getting close to being adults here, and how have they been dealing with some of the mental health issues and concerns?
Well, I think they feel like they need to be adults at this point, because they feel like 4 years doesn't seem like a lot of time. And even though they enter in high school and they think they have all this time to figure it out, they slowly start realizing, oh my gosh, I need to get on top of this and make sure I can go to college and do all the things I want to do with my life. And so sometimes they neglect their mental health concerns or their own self-care, because they feel like it's so high stakes. Like, college is just around the corner, and how do I prepare for that? And so they tend to burn out, they overwork themselves, they overschedule themselves. So a lot of my students are in 10 different clubs and sports and have jobs or internships, and while also trying to maintain 4.0 GPAs, and that's too much for anybody. And so really we try to reinforce to them just that you need to find the right balance for yourself. So,
what do you have to say to other parents, elementary, middle, or high school, on the learning loss that's happened because of the pandemic and how we can help our kids overcome that?
Yeah, I would say you're not alone. I would say it's definitely across the board. Brought awareness to mental health and seeing everyone as a whole person, right? So sometimes, yes, academics is super important, but seeing how we can give them those problem-solving skills and how we can emotionally regulate.
I really appreciate all the work you have done, especially over the past few years, helping guide our children and keep them on the right, successful track. So we really appreciate you sitting down with us.
Thanks for having us.
This school year, the counselors tell us they had a 50% increase in discussions with students regarding suicide compared to a normal year. Turns out during the pandemic, many kids witnessed their parents fighting or going through a divorce. The school counselors urge parents to continually ask their kids how they're feeling. To see our extended 11-minute conversation with the 3 school counselors, click on this story at CBS8.com.